أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Lesson number 58, Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 36 to 50. We'll begin from ayah 36. We'll just do a quick recap. وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Worship Allah and associate nothing with Him. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And to parents, do good. You will notice that many times, ibadah is mentioned first, and immediately after, the parents are mentioned. Ihsan towards parents is mentioned. Because of all those who deserve our obedience, is first of all who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because He is our Khaliq. He is our Raziq. Therefore, He deserves our obedience. He deserves our ibadah. And among the human beings, who is it that has done most ihsan upon us? Our parents. So immediately after ibadah, who is mentioned? The parents. And with the parents do ihsan. And you will notice that after the parents, the children are not mentioned. Why? Because a person will do ihsan towards his children anyway. He will do ihsan towards his children anyway. But children think that if they are doing ihsan towards their parents, it's a big deal. So, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And also ihsan to who else? وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى. And to relatives. Don't forget the relatives. Which dhil qurba are these? All those people who are related to you, 4 generations up and 4 generations down. وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ. And the orphans as well as the needy. وَالْجَارِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى. And the near neighbor. The neighbor who is living close to you, whose door is closer to your door, compared to the neighbor who is farther. Similarly, the near neighbor, who else does it refer to? The neighbor who is also a relative, or the neighbor who is also a believer. وَالْجَارِ الْجُنُبِ. And also the neighbor that is farther away. Because many times when we think that we're being good towards those people who are close to us, we neglect those people who are far from us. We think that if we're being kind and generous towards the person who is sitting next to us, we can ignore the person who is sitting behind us, or who is sitting 2 rows away from us. No, everyone deserves ihsan. So, al-jari dhil qurba wal-jari al-junub, both. وَالصَّاحِبِ بِالْجَنْبِ. And the companion at your side. Who is the companion at your side? Who is the sahib bil-jam? First of all, the wife, the spouse, meaning the person who is living with you, who is always by your side. You eat together, you live together, you sit in the car together. So, the person who is always by your side, they deserve some ihsan, because many times we tend to ignore these people. We tend to ignore to even smile at them, say salam to them. So, the companion at your side. And the companion at your side also refers to who else? The people who are sitting next to you. So, the companion at your side. Who else? وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. And also the traveler. وَمَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. And those whom your right hands possess. Who does this refer to? The slaves, and by extension, who else does it refer to? The animals as well that a person owns. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ مَنْ كَانَ مُخْتَالًا فَخُورًا. Indeed, Allah does not like those who are self-deluding and boastful. Who is mukhtal? What's the meaning of the word mukhtal? It's from ikhtiyal. And what does ikhtiyal mean? To imagine, to suppose. So, mukhtal is someone who thinks that he is very great, who thinks that he's up there, but he's not actually great. He thinks that he has superiority, but he doesn't actually have superiority. So it's a person who is delusional, who is full of himself, who is self-conceited, and he doesn't realize his reality at the same time. And if you look at it generally, what is it that stops us from doing ihsan towards others? I am doing good already. I am doing enough already. They should be doing ihsan to me. Why should I have to do ihsan to them? Like, for example, you go somewhere and you happen to see someone whom you know. Now, one is that you expect them to come and say salam to you. You expect them to smile at you. And the other is that you initiate. So mukhtal is someone who thinks of himself as a lot, so he wants other people to come to him, and he doesn't approach other people himself. Allah does not like mukhtal, because mukhtal cannot do ihsan on others. And Allah also does not like who? Fakhura. Who is fakhur? That upon doing something even very small, he cannot keep it to himself. He has to boast about it. Because fakhr, what is it? Fakhar is clay with which pottery is made. So if you touch it, if you knock at it, what happens? There is a loud sound. There is an echo. So similarly, fakhur is someone who does something very small, but he cannot keep it to himself. He has to publicize it. He has to tell everybody about it. So mukhtal is someone who, because of his arrogance, because of his self-conceitedness, he doesn't do ihsan. And fakhur is someone who, upon doing the least ihsan as well, he shows off, and that's it, he wastes his reward. Allah does not like such people. Rather, Allah likes those people who are humble, those people who do ihsan on others, and those people who have ikhlas, who do good only to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who are mukhtar and fakhur? الَّذِينَ يَبْخَلُونَ, those people who are stingy. They're stingy. What is bukhul? That what a person has, he doesn't spend it on others. And bukhul is also to not spend where a person must spend. Like for example, if there is a person who is thirsty, they're looking for water. They can't find water anywhere. And you happen to have an extra bottle with you. So, isn't it morally your responsibility that you give them that water? They're thirsty. They can't find it anywhere. So this is bukhul. Similarly, if a person has to give zakat, and he doesn't give zakat, he must give it. And if he doesn't give it, what is that? Bukhul. Similarly, it's a person's responsibility to spend on his parents, to spend on his children, to spend on his spouse, to not be stingy when it comes to giving a smile. So, الَّذِينَ يَبْخَلُونَ, those who are stingy, وَيَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبُخْلِ, and they also command others to be stingy. Why do they tell others to be stingy? Why? Why do they tell others to be stingy? Because they won't feel bad about themselves, in the sense that if you're doing something wrong and another person is also doing something wrong, you feel confident. You feel you're not that bad. And their stinginess won't be revealed. Their stinginess won't be highlighted. So, الَّذِينَ يَبْخَلُونَ وَيَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبُخْلِ, they also command others to be stingy. And it also shows extreme selfishness, extreme stinginess, extreme self-conceitedness, extreme hard-heartedness. That you see someone who is needy, you don't fulfill their need. And if somebody else is trying to fulfill their need, you discourage them. You know, one is that you're unable to help someone. And if somebody else is helping, you support them, you encourage them. But if you're able to, and you don't help the other person, and if somebody else is helping, you discourage them as well, what does it show? That you don't want any good for the poor. You don't want any good for the needy. So such a person is extremely selfish. وَيَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبُخْلِ. And it also reveals, like, when a person is only concerned about himself and about his family, about his children, and he is not concerned about other people. Like, for instance, if you go somewhere, because in the previous ayah we learned about ihsan towards even the sahib by your side. So like, for example, you're on the bus, or you're in the waiting room of the doctor's office, and you and your sister, you and your child are there. Now, one is that an older lady comes and you said, don't move your bag from there. Don't. Because otherwise they'll sit. And why do people do that? Because we have to sit here for so long, and if you move, then the other person's going to take your spot. Where will you sit? I want you to sit. I don't want you to get tired. Don't you want the same good for the older person? For the elderly? So it shows that a person is only concerned about himself, about his comfort, about his family, and he cannot care at all about others. وَيَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبُخْلِ. Moreover, وَيَكْتُمُونَ, and they also hide مَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ, what Allah has given them of His fadl. And what is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to people of His fadl? Different things. It's food, it's provision, it's clothing, it's knowledge, it's hidayah, it's guidance. So many things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. So what do? يَكْتُمُونَ, they conceal what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them of His fadl. And notice how Allah says, يَكْتُمُونَ مَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ. Allah has given it to them in the first place. It's not theirs. Allah has given them. And they hide it from Allah. They hide it from the people of Allah. They hide it from the creation of Allah. وَيَكْتُمُونَ مَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. Why do they hide it? So that nobody asks them. Because if they show it, other people are going to ask them. Similarly, they hide it. Why? So that nobody reproaches them for their bukhl. Because if they show it, and they're not spending on others, what are other people going to say? Why don't you spend? So, وَيَكْتُمُونَ مَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَأَعْتَدْنَا لِلْكَافِرِينَ عَذَابًا مُهِينًا. And we have prepared for the disbelievers a humiliating punishment, a disgraceful punishment. Now notice over here, it hasn't been said أَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ. We have prepared for such people, meaning for the people who do bukhl. What is the word that is being used for them? Kafirin. Kufr. Because what is kufr? To cover something, to hide something, to conceal something. So these people, what are they hiding? The blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. Whether that blessing is of Iman, of Islam, or that blessing is of knowledge, that blessing is of rizq, whatever blessing Allah has given them, what are they doing? They're hiding. So for such people, there is a humiliating punishment. Why is it humiliating? Because it is their arrogance that has prevented them from sharing this blessing with other people. And when a person is arrogant, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala humiliates him. So what do we learn from this ayah? First of all, we learn about bukhl. That bukhl is something that is unacceptable. Bukhl is something that is unacceptable. The Prophet ﷺ said, وَأَيُّ دَاءٍ أَدْوَأُ مِنَ الْبُخْلِ. What disease is more serious than being stingy? Because when a person is stingy, what happens? He neglects himself, meaning he does not spend on himself. He does not spend on his children, on his family, on the poor, on the needy. And when a person is stingy, he's not just stingy about money. He's stingy about little things. About food. About a small piece of something. About one tissue. Literally. And that makes his life difficult. That makes the life of other people difficult. So first of all, we learn about dham of bukhl. That how unacceptable bukhl is. The Prophet ﷺ also said, وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَالشُّحْ. Beware of being stingy. Why? Because it is what destroyed those people before you. How did it destroy them? It encouraged them to cut their relations. And they did. And it encouraged them to commit sin, and they did. What does bukhl do? It leads you to cutting your relations with who? Your friends, your family, your immediate family, your extended family. And ihsan, on the other hand, is what? To spend on your parents, on your relatives, on the traveler, on the needy, on the poor. And bukhl, on the other hand, takes a person to cutting their relations off. And at the end, he is left alone with his money. I mean, who cares about him then? And who cares about his money? He and his money and his things, that's it. Alone. A person is lonely. So bukhl leads a person to what? First of all, cutting their relationships. And secondly, sinning. What else do we learn? If you look at it, bukhl and kitman, both of them have been mentioned together. Why? Because sometimes a person will not be stingy towards his family, towards his children and spouse, but he will hide his money from who? From his parents, or vice versa. Why? Because if it is exposed, then he will be expected to spend. He will be expected to do ihsan. So, bukhl and kitman go together. Also, we learn from this ayah that a person who does something wrong, meaning who does an amal that is wrong, then he also becomes a da'i of su, meaning he also calls other people to that same wrong action, either actively, directly, or indirectly. Because when you do something wrong, either you will want people to do that action with you, right? Because nobody wants to be alone. So either a person is going to tell other people, okay, you also do this, you also try this. And doesn't it happen with us? You go to a restaurant and you tell other people, definitely go there. You go to a store and buy something, definitely go there. People like to tell other people, right? So when a person does something wrong, either he will directly invite others to that wrong action, or he will indirectly call other people to that wrong action. How will he indirectly call people? Through his actions. That I am doing this and other people will follow him in his example. So a person who does amal su, he also becomes a da'i of su. A person who does a wrong action, he also becomes a caller to the wrong action. Which is why الَّذِينَ يَبْخَلُونَ وَيَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبُخْلِ. They do bukhl themselves and they also command other people to do bukhl. Also we learn from this ayah that a person who conceals what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him, he is being reproached. So we learn about the dham, about the reproach for hiding something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. And remember that kitman, hiding something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, is done in two ways. First of all, through fi'l, through action. What does that mean? That a person has been given some blessing and nothing of the blessing is visible on him. He does not use the blessing. He does not show the blessing. He does not share the blessing. He does not benefit other people with that blessing. So, first of all, kitman is done how? By fi'l. And I had mentioned to you the hadith earlier that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He gives a blessing to a servant, then He is happy, He likes it, that it should be visible on the person. How will it be visible? That when a person will use it, when a person will share it, when a person will benefit other people with it. And secondly, kitman is done through qawl, through words. How? That a person says that I don't have this and I don't have that, I can't do this and I can't do that, and I am needy, whereas he actually has those things. So he is pretending that he doesn't have anything, but he actually has it. Like for instance, sometimes we say, I don't have time at all, I'm very busy. We say it. So we're hiding the blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us of time. How? By our words. Whereas actually we have it. Where is that time going? We're killing that time by watching TV. We're killing that time by just useless conversations. And that same time could be used to help someone. That same time could be used to improve our recitation, for example.
Let's listen to the recitation of these verses.